Hi tribe, Sandra here, author, speaker, community person working for A1 Tribe. So today's video is about being neurodiverse. That's right, neurodiverse. In my instance, it's dyslexic. Stay tuned and I'll tell you more. Before I start, remember, click like, click subscribe, click notifications. Remember, do it now, do it now.
Okay, so I'm what the new terminology is called neurodiverse.
And what does that mean? Well, being neurodiverse, in my case dyslexic, because you can have any number of other conditions that are considered neurodiverse. So that's things like dyscalculia, that's difficulties with numbers, Asperger's, autism, ADD, ADHD, and these kind of syndromes that are where people, a small number, have struggles with learning to read and spell. It's bigger than that, but that's you with being dyslexic, reading and spelling, because you need these things. Dyscalculia, it's number difficulties, so you imagine you're trying to do your finances and your numbers are not coming out right, so that's another issue for being an adult and needing the life skills to be comfortable as you get older and help yourself. So why talk about dyslexia? Well, I wanted to also big up that works with people that are neurodiverse, in particular people that are dyslexic, and they are the Waltham Forest Dyslexia Association. And there is generally a monthly club, if not there are other activities. There's learning activities, there's screening people that think they might be dyslexic. Why you would most probably look for screening as a person that might be dyslexic is that work can be really difficult depending on the type of work you do. Coping and looking after yourself as an adult, if you've got children, looking after them in education, these things can become big major issues. If you're working, managing the administration side of any job you're doing, or if you're self-employed, same thing, the administration be the one that might stop you from wanting to continue to do the work that you're doing. What I found in my years is that firstly, picking up if a person has a reading and a spelling issue is still something of the child's being lazy, rather than just doing a screening. A screening wouldn't hurt, and a number of staff in schools and other education facilities can be trained to give the child or the adult a screening to see if it is dyslexia that's the issue for them. How I found out I was dyslexic, and when I got an assessment, was when I was at university, and it wasn't my first university that I went to. When I trained to do fashion design technology, it was with my second university that I trained to be a teacher, and it was a PGCE that I was doing. And that's when my wonderful, and I always big him up, Matthew Berry, lecturer, said, "We help with that." I'll tell you about how I know this was a beginning of a whole new life for me when I figured out what was going on for me and words and reading. Right, let's go again. Take 4. Okay. Checking the volumes on. Okay, so today our discussion is about being neurodiverse. What is it? What does it mean? Well, it encapsulates a number of different conditions that are learning difficulties, such as dyslexia, which I am, dyscalculia, difficulties with numbers, autism, Asperger's, ADD, all these different learning difficulties and behavioural difficulties. are people that are neurodiverse. Okay, so neurodiversity, in particular my condition, dyslexia. I'm talking to you today for two particular reasons. I was at one of my local groups yesterday for being dyslexic, and they run a number of different groups and activities to support people that are dyslexic, and they do a monthly group talk, and they have on speakers, of course, that share their story of either being dyslexic or having trained to understand how the brain works and dyslexia works, and looking at the emotional side and the practical side of being able to just operate as a dyslexic person. As a neurodiverse person, in a momento, as I was saying about being neurodiverse, it can give you a lot and it can take a lot away from you. However, it's important to know if you are this particular thing, no matter which category you fall in. I'm specific about talking about being dyslexic in this video. So, as I said, I understand and say that dyslexics are people that are, in most cases but not all, people that struggle with naturally learning to read and spell, and that is definitely the case for me. As I was saying in the previous section, how did I find out that I was dyslexic? Well, I'd already done one degree in fashion design technology and limped through that at the end of 1994, and directly after I probably had a breakdown. It was so hard. And then that was 4 years, so in 2000 I completed that. Then I had some years working for myself. I owned a shop with a family member, and then I went into youth services, working with young people that were on conditional punishment orders. And one thing I noticed, there were a lot of them struggled with reading skills. Then when I left there, I went on to learn to teach. Now, anyone that knows anything about learning to teach, there are copious amounts of reading to do and a whole ton of analysing that reading and putting it into your old words and writing dissertations, of which there were 3 10,000 dissertations in a year-long PGCE required. Ultimately, I graduated a year after my class because of requirements for my dissertation, and had to rewrite and submit it the following term, which I did, and I eventually qualified and graduated. But how I found out I was dyslexic, I was in my 40s, I already had grandchildren and started doing a PGCE. And the lovely lecturer, Mr. Matthew Berry, without him I would have given up. It was so tough. When I found out, it was after our first meeting, being accepted to do the PGCE, and you had a group interview where you had to do some reading out loud. Now, anyone that knows me knows reading out loud, I suppose not most dyslexic people's thing to do, but it certainly wasn't mine. Onwards and upwards. I had to do it. That's what was required. That's what I had to do. So I did. And it went horribly wrong. I couldn't read some of the words. Other trainee teachers in the same room with me were laughing. And all I thought when they did that was, children that are going to make mistakes and you're going to laugh? Anywho, so when we had our one-to-one interview with our lecturer, which was Matthew Berry, at Middlesex University, I might add, they were very, very good, very hands-on with my dyslexia anyway. And I grasped all the support I can get with both hands, feet, clasp my body around it because I couldn't believe that there was all this help there. I remember when they did the first induction to explain how they supported students that had special educational needs and needed support, and they started to talk about dyslexia and what support there was there for people with dyslexia. I cried.
I cried.
Because I had gone over 40 years, 45 years, not quite sure what the problem was, and just trying to cope in that process. So I cried through the whole presentation. The poor lady, she was a darling. She gave me tissues. People went outside and got toilet paper. They took tissues out of their bag. I just couldn't believe that there was all this technological support for people that couldn't read and spell. And it was just there. You just needed to be in the right place and willing to ask for the help, which is what I did. So from there, I went on and did my PGCE with tons of support from tutors, Matthew Berry being one, hours in the office after all the classes are finished, after you'd been at school training and teaching other children and working with staff, going in to get your dissertations written. It was really, really grueling and tough. And on at least 3 occasions I said, it's not for me, I'm going to give up. They said, no, you can do it, come in, I'll help you with the dissertation, I'll help you write it so it makes better sense. And he did, and I got through, and I'm a qualified teacher as a dyslexic person, and for me that's amazing. When I was in my usual group of people that are dyslexics, I think I've mentioned them, the Waltham Forest Dyslexia Association, and I do try to attend as much of the activities and classes and online courses that they have available. And there's a monthly kind of talk that they do, where they bring in some speakers to talk about either their knowledge of dyslexia, or if they're dyslexic themselves, and to talk about their story. And a couple of things kind of prompted me to say it'll be useful for people to get a better insight into how a dyslexic operates. Now, dyslexia in particular is known as a superpower, because you have to demonstrate such resilience, such determination, such will to get yourself to places and do things that people or even yourself feel like, actually, I'm not good enough, I won't be able to do it. You yourself have to generate that and push yourself forwards. And that's one thing dyslexic people do. They fight for what they're interested in. When they get to a certain age and they've got the self-esteem and the confidence, they will fight for what they want. And it was one of the speakers that they had that prompted me to say, it's very true. With that superpower, what does it give you? All those things: determination, strength of will, and what you will also do, and I do now, I'm very happy to go and ask for help, which as a child I didn't. Hence I managed to get all the way through school, stayed on for an extra year, and still left only reading at a primary school level. You know, because I didn't ask for the help. I didn't say, look, this is an issue and I need to deal with it. Phone again. You're dyslexic, but remember, you have a superpower. You are now known as neurodiverse, and your superpower, whichever learning disability or difficulty you have, will take you through to where you want to go.